Imagine you a pirate sailing across the Caribbean Sea in the year 1718. The sun is blazing overhead. The ocean stretches endlessly in every direction. The wind fills the sails. And standing at the helm is a fearsome pirate captain. A long coat, a weathered hat, and covering one eye, an eye patch. Almost every pirate in movies, cartoons, and books seems to wear one. It's become one of the most recognizable symbols of piracy. But have you ever stopped to wonder why? Most people assume the answer is obvious. Pirates fought constantly. They attacked ships. They engaged in sword fights. They fired cannons. Life at sea was dangerous. So naturally, they must have lost an eye in battle. Right? That's certainly possible. After all, injuries were common. A sword slash, a flying splinter from a cannon blast, an accident during a storm. Any of these could cost someone an eye. But here's the strange thing. If pirates wore eye patches simply because they had lost an eye, then sailors from every navy should have been wearing them too. Soldiers should have worn them. Merchants should have worn them. Yet somehow, the eye patch became strongly associated with pirates. Why? The answer may have less to do with missing eyes, and more to do with something happening inside the human brain. To understand this mystery, we need to talk about darkness. Specifically, how your eyes react when moving between bright and dark environments. Try a simple experiment. Walk outside on a bright sunny day. Stay there for a few minutes. Then immediately enter a completely dark room. At first, you can barely see anything. The room appears almost black. You stumble around. Objects disappear into the darkness. But wait a few minutes. Slowly, shapes begin to emerge. Furniture becomes visible. Walls appear. Your vision improves. Nothing in the room changed. The only thing that changed was your eyes. This process is called dark adaptation, and it's one of the most remarkable abilities of human vision. Inside your eyes are special cells called rods and cones. Cones handle color vision and work best in bright conditions. Rods are much more sensitive to light. They allow you to see in dim environments. But rods need time to adjust. When you're standing in bright sunlight, your rods are essentially overwhelmed. The moment you enter darkness, they're not immediately ready to help. They need time, sometimes several minutes, sometimes much longer. In fact, complete dark adaptation can take around 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Think about that. Half an hour. That's a long time to wait when your life depends on seeing clearly. Now imagine you're aboard a pirate ship. The upper deck is flooded with tropical sunlight. The sea reflects light in every direction. Everything is dazzlingly bright. Then suddenly, you're ordered below deck. Below deck is a completely different world. It's dark, cramped, poorly lit, filled with cargo, ropes, barrels, weapons, and supplies. Maybe you're searching for ammunition. Maybe you're looking for treasure. Maybe you're preparing for combat. Whatever the reason, you need to see immediately. Not 30 minutes from now. Right now. And that's where the eye patch theory becomes fascinating. According to a popular explanation, some sailors may have worn an eye patch over one perfectly healthy eye. Not because the eye was injured, but because they wanted that eye to remain adapted to darkness. One eye stayed adjusted to the bright sunlight above. The other eye remained adjusted to darkness beneath the deck. In theory, the sailor was carrying two different visual modes at the same time. One eye for day, one eye for night. Then came the clever part. The moment the sailor went below deck, he could switch the eye patch to the opposite eye. Instantly, the dark-adapted eye would take over. Instead of waiting for vision to adjust, he could see almost immediately. It's a brilliant idea. Almost unbelievably brilliant. And that's exactly why the story became so popular. People hear it once and immediately think, that makes perfect sense. But does it? That's where things start getting interesting. Because historians have a problem with this explanation. Not because the science is wrong. The science actually works. The problem is the history. There is very little evidence showing that pirates actually used eye patches this way. No pirate handbook has ever been found explaining the technique. No captain's journal describes sailors switching eye patches before going below deck. No official naval records clearly mention it either. And that's a problem, because extraordinary claims require evidence. Without evidence, a good idea remains only a theory. A very convincing theory, but still a theory. So where did pirates get their famous eye patch reputation? To answer that, we need to meet the real pirates. Not the movie pirates. Not the cartoon pirates. The real ones. The pirates who sailed during the Golden Age of Piracy, a period stretching from the late 1600s into the early 1700s. The Caribbean was one of their favorite hunting grounds. Merchant ships carried valuable cargo across these waters, and pirates wanted that cargo, which meant life at sea was dangerous for everyone involved. The ocean was not a romantic place. It was a dangerous workplace. Every day brought new risks. Storms could destroy ships. Disease could spread through entire crews. Food often spoiled. Fresh water was limited, and battles could happen at any moment. One of the most famous pirates of all time was Blackbeard. His real name was Edward Teach. He understood something important. Fear could be more powerful than weapons. So he made himself look terrifying. He twisted slow-burning fusees into his beard. The smoke surrounded his face. Enemies thought they were looking at a demon. Appearance mattered at sea, and eye patches fit perfectly into that image. An eye patch instantly suggests danger. It suggests experience. It suggests survival. It tells a story without saying a word. And that's why artists love drawing them. Writers loved describing them. And filmmakers loved putting them on screen. But there was another reason eye patches seemed believable. Eye injuries really were common. Much more common than most people realize. And surprisingly, swords weren't always the biggest threat. Cannons were. Not because cannonballs directly hit people. That happened too. But the real danger was wood. Lots of wood. Remember, ships were made almost entirely from timber. When a cannonball smashed into the hull, the wood exploded. Thousands of sharp splinters flew through the air. Like bullets. Some sailors called them wooden shrapnel. And they could cause horrifying injuries. Arms could be injured. Legs could be injured. And eyes were especially vulnerable. A tiny fragment was all it took. Medical care at the time was primitive. There were no antibiotics, no advanced surgery. Even small injuries could become serious. Which means some pirates almost certainly did wear eye patches because they had genuinely lost an eye. But that still doesn't explain why eye patches became such a powerful pirate symbol. After all, plenty of sailors suffered injuries. Yet we don't immediately picture Navy captains wearing eye patches. We picture pirates. The answer lies in storytelling. Humans love memorable characters, and memorable characters need memorable features. That's why fictional pirates gradually collected visual trademarks. The eye patch was one of them. The hook hand was another. The wooden leg joined the collection. And eventually, parrots became part of the image too. Interestingly, many of these ideas were amplified by books. And one book changed everything. Treasure Island, published in the 19th century. It helped define what pirates looked like for generations. Many pirate cliches trace back to stories like this. Then came cinema. And cinema loved visual shortcuts. Movies have very little time to explain a character. So filmmakers relied on symbols. One glance at an eye patch, and audiences immediately knew what they were looking at. That's the power of visual storytelling. Over time, fiction became stronger than history. People remembered the image and forgot to ask whether it was accurate. But here's where the story takes another unexpected turn. Even if pirates didn't commonly use eye patches for night vision, the idea itself might actually work. And scientists decided to test it. Think about it. The theory makes a clear prediction. Cover one eye. Expose the other eye to bright light. Then move into darkness. Switch eyes. If the theory is correct, the covered eye should perform better. And that's exactly what researchers found. The protected eye retained its dark adaptation, meaning it could see better in darkness. Much better. The science checked out. In other words, the eye patch trick is real, at least from a biological perspective. The human eye really can be prepared this way, which raises an even bigger question. If the trick actually works, then has anyone else used it? The answer is yes. Not necessarily pirates. but people working in low-light environments. Imagine a military operation at night, or a pilot flying in darkness. Suddenly, a bright light flashes. The eyes can lose their dark adaptation. And that's a problem, because darkness doesn't forgive mistakes. For decades, some pilots used a surprisingly simple solution. They covered one eye, not because the eye was injured, but to preserve night vision. Sound familiar? It's basically the same concept. Different century, different profession, same biology. The human eye hasn't changed much in a few hundred years, which is why the theory refuses to dissipate. It sounds plausible because it is plausible. The science supports it. The evidence does not fully support the pirate part. And that's an important distinction. Many people mix those two ideas together. They hear that the trick works and assume pirates definitely used it. But history doesn't work that way. A good explanation still needs proof. And proof is hard to find after 300 years, especially when pirates rarely left detailed records. Many pirates couldn't even write. Others left only fragments behind. So some mysteries remain unsolved. And perhaps that's part of the appeal. People love mysteries, especially pirate mysteries. Treasure maps, hidden gold, lost ships, and mysterious eye patches. So, did pirates wear eye patches because they lost an eye? Some probably did. Did pirates wear eye patches to preserve night vision? Possibly. Do historians have enough evidence to prove it? Not yet. And that's where the mystery still remains. But sometimes the most fascinating stories aren't the ones with perfect answers. They're the ones sitting somewhere between myth and reality. The pirate eye patch is one of those stories. Part history, part science, part legend, and completely unforgettable. The next time you see a pirate wearing an eye patch, you'll know the story is much more complicated than it looks, and that a simple piece of cloth may hide one of history's most intriguing mysteries.